Hey guys, I'm Dee. You're watching Healthy Life Designing. On our show, we cover topics based around health and wellness to provide you with tools and resources to design a healthier life. We like to have fun and invite some pretty amazing guests to the show. This is the second show, and I'm so happy to be here and to have the opportunity to share my passion for health and wellness. My hope for each show is that you're able to benefit from the information and apply what you learn to your lifestyle and to make you smile. Our guest today does just that. He puts a smile on my face because he is such a positive, inspiring individual. And today we are talking about his passion, running, the benefits of running, how to increase your time, the best shoes, stretching, and his philosophy on running. And I can tell you that I'm not a runner. In fact, the only running you will normally see me doing is the Running Man. I would highly recommend starting the Running Man at the grocery store with your family and then ease into the local mall. Just kidding. But for those of you who are avid runners, student athletes, or if you're a marathon runner, this show is for you today. Again, I'm not a runner, but after spending some time with our guest, I think I may be inspired to give it another try. Today on the show, we have Rob Myers. Rob has been running for over 22 years. He was a collegiate athlete for the NCAA. He also finished third place for the Olympic trials. He held records at a national, collegiate, and high school level. He has accomplished many things in his career, and today we invited him here to talk about some of the benefits of running, the proper shoes, increasing your time, and his philosophy. So if you are an avid runner, student athlete, or a marathon runner, you won't want to miss this. We'll be right back with head track and cross country coach, Rob Myers.
Hi, I'm Amanda Wattenberg, Regional Director at Ohio Guidestone. Do you or does someone you know have a substance abuse disorder? Have you been thinking about getting help, but don't know where to start? It takes a lot of courage to ask for help, but it's the most important step you can take. If you think you know everything that's available in Fairfield County, think again. Like other chronic diseases, addiction can be managed successfully. Treatment enables people to counteract addiction's powerful, disruptive effects on the brain's behavior and regain control of their lives. Even if it takes multiple attempts, treatment does work and people do recover from addiction every day. So keep trying because your life matters. You matter, and we're here to help. Call 211 and ask for the treatment resources available right here in Fairfield County.
This message is brought to you by the Fairfield County Adam H. Board.
Hey guys, we're back. I'm Dee. You're watching Healthy Life Designing. We have Rob Myers here today, ex-professional runner, and he is going to share with us some things about running. Hey Rob.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I know you're a super busy guy. And before we get started, I wanted to just let you know how much you inspire me. And we had a little bit of time to talk, maybe a week ago.
Yeah.
I went up to the track at Fairfield Union where Rob is the overall guy for everything with the track and cross country. And the time and effort you put into your coaching and the extra time that nobody gets to see. I got to sit down and watch you for probably 30 minutes, taking the extra time to talk to your student athletes about, if they're having any issues in their body, if they're stretching, and just generally making sure they're okay. And so you almost inspired me to wish I had gone back in time and maybe committed to my time that I did try and track and was a failure, but I did try. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate you, and it's really inspiring to see what you do.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's I guess you're right. There is a lot that goes into it that people don't see, and I sometimes don't even think about that little extra bit that goes on.
Right. And because you're in the moment, you're just doing it.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about
I'm
who's
doing what
watching.
I love. Yeah.
You're doing what you love. Yeah.
Yeah.
What, before we really get into everything, can you talk briefly about, where this started for you? High school, I know your family, you come from a big family of runners.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. For me, it started at a very young age. My brothers just teasing me to go get a pop up at the shop. We grew up on a farm, and we'd be down the house, and my brothers would be like, "Hey, I'll pay you 50 cents if you race up to get a pop for me from the shop."
Right.
Because we weren't allowed to have pop at the house, but there was some up the shop. Or they'd be like, "We'll time you." And, of course, they didn't time me or give me money,
Right.
but they always convinced me, we will this time. But, I was always around it. My dad was a very, very good athlete. He ran collegiately, Western Kentucky. He had a lot of high school records at Fairfield Union. He was called the Flying Falcon. There's the John Allen Myers Award at our high school, and that goes to the most outstanding athlete in our school. He was my cousin that I was named after. He died tragically in a car wreck in high school, but he wasn't per se a runner, but he was just a really, really great athlete at our school. And then both my brothers, they both ran high school, and then both went on to run collegiately as well. Chad at Otterbein, Ben at Ohio University.
So no pressure for you.
No pressure, and honestly, I never felt pressure because my dad never really put pressure on me or my mom. They basically just said, if you want to do it, do it, and if you love it, go out there. And I was the type of person, I'm very competitive, and I'm very passionate. So when I put myself into something,
right, you're
like
all in.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
Like there's no, and I try to teach that to my student athletes. If you want to be successful, it all depends on how all in are you, and
right,
what do you actually want out of this, and if you want a lot out of it, that's up to you. You go get it.
And you went and got it.
I did, yeah.
You went all the way through.
Yeah, so in high school I was a 3-time state champion, multiple time state runner-up, third in the state as well. I mean, I don't know. I went on to Ohio State from there. I ran, I set a couple school records at Ohio State, 2-time Big Ten champion, 2-time NCAA All-American. I was 4th at NCAAs. I would call that a bad day. For me, it was. Felt like I could have won that race, but 4th, hey, whatever. I put myself out there and I'll take it.
Exactly.
And then from there, I went on. I was 3rd in the U.S. Olympic trials in 2004. That helped start my professional running career. I ran for Reebok for a number of years. I think it was like 6. And then I finished my career out with Saucony. I ran for Saucony the remainder of my professional career. Got paid to do it. That's all I did. I competed in 16 different countries around the world as an athlete, and I got to know, you name it. Alan Webb, the American record holder, I rode with him and his coach to the little tiny meet in Belgium where he set the American record. I've warmed up with. I've seen Usain Bolt while warming up and kind of been in the same room as him and hanging out. I didn't get to know him, but he was always surrounded by bodyguards, so it was a little different with him. But
squeeze in there.
Yeah, but you name it. I've been around the world and seen it, and I've taken a lot of experience from that and from what I learned in college as well. I've trained with 3 different coaches. My Ohio State coach, trained with the University of Michigan coach, Ron Warhurst. He's a legend as well. And then I trained with one of the top Canadian coaches because I ended up with a half Canadian, half American group there towards the end. And so I've a lot of different experience to take from.
In all of that, did you have so many moments that you felt that it was just surreal? That, oh my gosh, am I really doing this? Am I really here right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I took it for granted ever at any point. I mean, maybe towards the end I started to kind of take it for granted, and I wish I wouldn't have. Because I think, sometimes you don't realize what's actually happening.
When you're in the moment.
When you're in the moment and how special that is. And looking back on it now, I do see things. I was like, man, I wish I'd have done that differently. Or, for example, and I use this with my athletes all the time, I rode with Alan Webb and his coach, the 3 of us, when he set the American record, and I was asked repetitively to be in that race with him, and I turned it down.
Oh.
And so now when you look back at the footage that's online, you can only see me high-fiving him after the race, and that's a race I could have been in, but I let my fear get in the way. And I didn't feel fit enough to be in that race. I knew how fast it was going to be. And looking back, I was fit enough to at least be in the race,
right,
and still run fast,
right,
and be a part of history. And instead, I'm not. So I use that to help teach my athletes all the time. Like, hey, don't be afraid. Put yourself out there and just go for it, because you never know what's going to happen.
Right. What is your overall philosophy with running?
Oh, boy. So that's a big question. My overall philosophy is kind of more like along the lines of, me personally, I believe motivation is huge. So I'm trying to always motivate my athletes and get them to buy in, like we already talked, like make that commitment.
Right.
If we talk training philosophy, that's like an hour conversation, but start small, keep it simple, and consistency over time is one of my biggest.
Consistency over time, and that's what you and I talked about the other day at the track.
Yeah, consistency over time is huge, and not just consistency over time, but the right consistency over time, like doing it right, not doing it wrong. Because if you're doing it wrong over time, you're just going to get hurt,
right?
Or you're
going to stay where you're at.
Yeah, not get better. But doing things right and that consistency over time, because running is a very slow process. You don't make.
It's not an instant thing.
It's not instant.
It's patience.
Patience, yeah. It's not like we talked the other day, and I said it's not like you get to shoot 5 hoops and on the 5th one you make it and you got that instant gratification and you can go home and or you go, oh, I got that gratification, I'm gonna shoot again now, right?
It's 2 steps.
Running's
2 steps back.
Running's very different. Like you can train, and then go for a race and be like, that's weird. I didn't run very well, and I've been training very, very hard.
Right. What's wrong?
What's wrong with me? But so it takes time, and that's one of my biggest philosophies with my athletes.
Awesome.
Give it time.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Rob is going to share a little bit about your proper footwear, shaving off your time, and some other little benefits with running, the stretching. And maybe we'll learn a little bit more about who Rob is in general, because he is more than just a head coach. He's also a dad and a full-time farmer. So we will be right back with more on Healthy Life Designing.
At Dagger Law, we have more than 110 years of combined expertise in nearly every part of law.
What I think sets us apart from any other law firm is our ability to work together.
With us, you're getting a trusted partner, in addition to a team who can help you with a growing business, changing family, planning your future, or dealing with land issues.
It's a challenge every day, and you meet an awful lot of nice people.
Your case matters. We'll take the time and the energy to ensure that you have a quality experience, quality representation.
Whatever you need, we have a lawyer who can help. Dagger Law. Local, trusted, experienced.
Hey guys, we're back here with Rob Myers on Healthy Life Designing. We're going to kind of dive into this next segment. And Rob, can you talk about the proper shoes? Because, I think that when people start running, they start backwards. They get into something and they start running, and maybe they're in a marathon, or they're with a group of people and they're in a running group, but they forgot to start with their feet.
Yeah,
shoes.
You're absolutely right. I see it all the time, even at the high school level. Kids will come out in the team and they'll want to go for a run or start training with the team, and I'm like, well, first of all, you're in basketball shoes. You need to be in proper running shoes,
right.
or they're in running shoes or what they perceive to be running shoes, and they're completely broke down, 4 years old, nothing to them. And it's very, very important because, our whole lives are spent in shoes. Our feet, they're developed through time to where we are as the age we are. But having a proper shoe that's going to support your foot is absolutely crucial. And, the biggest thing I recommend to my athletes is, hey, go to a running specialty store.
Right.
and have them fit you, because, you know, you may think one way, but you may not be right. And unless someone that is trained to do it watches your gait, does a gait analysis, and
Exactly.
puts you in a shoe, you may be in the wrong shoe. And that can lead to a lot of pain and discomfort and end up with you quitting before you even know if you're going to be successful or have fun with it because of the pain.
I agree completely. Even being a trainer, that's one thing that I found, even with my training and personal training clients, is that if they start complaining, oh, I have all of this knee pain where they didn't have it before, and
Yeah.
they go off and they go buy a certain pair of shoes
Yep.
because they think they're new and they're on sale, then they end up, you know, if their feet go inward or your feet go outward and you just
Yeah.
slip on any shoe, you're going to have pain. It just goes right up your leg, and
Yeah.
then it leads to other things, and
Bottom up.
injuries.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing that the folks need to make sure that they have is their proper shoes.
Proper shoes. And I got to say real fast, the other thing about running shoes is they break down fairly rapidly. My friend designs running shoes, and he told me, you know, the foam in them, it's an amazing foam, but it's not meant to last long. So there's a trade-off. So finding a pair of old discounted shoes may not be the best option.
Right.
Just because they're cheap doesn't mean that it's a good option for you. You may want to spend the money and get something that's newer, because it's worth it.
And I like that you say that, because I've always heard, because like I mentioned, I'm not a runner, just maybe the running man. I like short distance running, but the
50 meters?
50 meters or maybe up the bleachers and back, the shoes.
The life of them.
Yeah, the mileage.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some people say, oh, these shoes last 6 months, or these shoes can go this many miles. How can people tell that? When should people get a new pair of shoes? Get a new pair of shoes?
That's actually a really tough question.
Because I think that's
if
what
you are-
runners do. They
if-
think that they'll
yeah.
need a new pair.
Yeah, and you know, at the professional level, I cycled through a pair every month because they didn't cost me a
Okay.
dime, and I didn't want to risk
An
right
injury.
an injury.
Right.
So my shoes were cycled constantly. I
Right.
just, you know, and the other thing you can do is if you have two new pair, you rotate the day, because they almost need to recover from your run, especially if you're running a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you rotate them in and out. But yeah, some people go mileage, some people go months. Or you can also kind of look at them and you can say, hey, look, they're broke down. I mean, you can physically see that. The bottom will
The
be
wear,
worn
the
off.
traction.
The traction, yep. But typically, you know, I don't like my athletes going for more than a season. I mean, they're high school athletes still, so there's got to be some give and take there. Now, if they do start having pain, it's one of the first things I will look at. Okay, maybe you go through them faster than the next person,
Right.
because you might be harder on them. You may land in a different way that wears them out faster, or the brand you have may not be as long lasting as someone else's. So yeah, it is a range. It's not just like 200 miles out, you know,
Right.
2 months out.
Somebody
It's-
like you compared to someone like myself, you know, I just
Yeah.
want to it brought up a fun memory of when you first came back to Ohio, and
Yeah.
you and I were at the same gym. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was Delene's recently, but
Yeah.
before
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and Rob would come in and he would get on the treadmill next to me, or I would come in next to him, and he's just running and trucking along, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, why is Rob
What-
Myers
what
right
am I
next
doing?
to me? This is horrible for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so it's very individualized,
Very, very much so.
and then that leads us into stretching, because I think that's very individualized
yeah.
as well.
And there's a lot of different philosophies on stretching. I mean, my background on stretching comes from what I saw at the highest of high levels, you know, world championships, watching all the way through, you know, what I was taught collegiately, what I was taught professionally, what I was able to experience and see. I mean, watching the fastest people in the world warm up, right? You're gonna absorb that and be like, okay, maybe this is the right way. Maybe
Right.
we're all doing things
Right.
right. And so the big thing for me was the dynamic warm-up, not starting static, but starting with very, very small movements and letting that build into an actual warm-up of more aggressive movements,
Right.
and letting those muscles adapt over time.
Right.
And so the dynamic warm-up is what we do at Fairfield Union.
And you also incorporate the foam rolling, which
Foam
I
rolling
really
is-
agree with
yep.
that also.
Yeah, we do a ton of foam rolling. We have 2 bags full of different types of rollers, balls, different things. I was foam rolling before it was cool.
He wants to take the credit.
I'm not taking credit. I was fortunate enough. I worked with a doctor. Her name was Dr. Hunter, and she was amazing, and she was a leader. She was in the forefront of this. She was on multiple Olympic teams as one of their doctors, and she introduced me to foam rolling. And they didn't even make them back then. She would buy, I don't know what it was, something for cushions or something that you would use to make stuff, and she would buy it and she'd cut it into sections, and it was like literally it was a piece of foam almost.
Right.
And it came in long tubes, and she'd cut them into sections and give them to her athletes and be like, okay, you need to roll on this because it mimics what I do when I work on your muscles. And she would show us how. And I'm not saying she invented it. I'm sure it was around, but you didn't really see it much. And
No.
even when I would start doing it places, people were like, what are you doing? What is that? But then as you start, it didn't take long. I mean, it spread. Whoever it came from, it spread very fast, especially at the professional level. And then it seemed to really trickle down, and now it's a huge market.
Right.
People are trying to invent things like we just take PVC pipe and
Well, that's what I was going to say. No, PVC pipe isn't anything.
Yep.
But we're going to take a quick break right here. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some more running tips that you can put in your goodie bag. And we'll be right back.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Hey guys, we're back here with Rob Myers, finishing up today. It has been so awesome and inspiring listening to his story. And just a few minutes ago, we were talking about how running affects your mental health while we took a break, and the benefits of running.
Yeah.
And your philosophy on running with. Well, we talked when we were at the track the other day, and how people, everybody has headphones on. Everybody's got their Beats or whatever it is, and I know I'm one of those people. But I loved your take on getting rid of the music and just getting outside and being in nature and grounding yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a special place that we can go, and in today's society, media and just all this technology, and we're so overwhelmed both mentally and honestly that makes us physically and emotionally drained. And to be able to get outside and honestly get rid of the headphones, get rid of all the social media, go for a run in the woods by yourself or even with friends. But the pathways that you build in your mind and in your brain, and that the fresh air and the sounds and the sights, it's honestly, I think it's amazing for people's mental health. And that's one side of running. And then the other side, I think, is the mental toughness that you gain from running. Learning that you can do something that you didn't think you could. My athletes, I'll give them a workout, and they're like, you can tell they don't think they can do it. And then when they get through it, you can see that different, that they have a different posture about themselves, because they're like, wow, I did that. And that's something that I didn't think I could
Confidence.
do. So they gain confidence, and they gain, just a little bit of mental toughness. Like, hey, I can do this. And then that's going to go a long ways in life.
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
yes.
wow. Talk about being a parent or something, the mental toughness to be a parent. I mean, you got to, right? You go home and your kids are crying and you love them to death, but you're like,
this one down.
Or just a hard job, what you need to be able to work through with the job. I mean, that mental toughness. So
Right.
I mean,
And, speaking of all of that mental toughness and parent, you're also a full-time dad, and
Yeah.
you're a full-time coach, and you are a full-time farmer.
Yeah.
So,
And loving husband.
and loving husband. Ding, ding, ding. And so I think when people can incorporate something like running into their fitness routine, or maybe just trying something different and new, it will help balance your lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can get out of your own head. And
Yeah.
it's, if you're so flourished with or rushed with all of these thoughts of what you've got to do from day to day, and you
Yeah.
throw the headphones on and you go out and you're running, you don't get to you can't work through those things
you-
floating around in your head.
Yeah, you're not actually thinking when you've got headphones
No.
on. You're listening.
You're
Someone's telling you
listening.
what
Yes.
to think,
Yes.
right? And when you get rid of that and you go out in nature or wherever, but you just have that free time and alone time,
You can let go.
you can actually process. And
Process,
being able to
yes.
process is so important, especially in today's
And a lot of times
day
we
and
don't
age.
want to. And that's putting
You-
the headphones on
yeah.
too. You
Yeah.
don't have to deal with the things that are up
reality.
here.
Yeah. Reality's hard sometimes, but I'm telling you, when you deal with it and you have that even if it's a half hour to just decompress and process what's going on in your life, man, you're a much better person. And I see it all the time. Honestly, I see it all the time. And my wife, she loves to get out and run when she can, and she's crazy busy trying to balance everything. I mean, she keeps this family together. And I can tell a difference when she's able to get out and run. And I try to help make her, I want her to get out and run because I know that's good for her.
Right.
She's healthier that way. And not just physically, but emotionally.
Exactly.
So it's super important. I just got to take the kids from her sometimes so she can go by herself. Because
Right.
I think it's more stressful when the kids are in front of her and that.
Right.
She's
stuck. She's stuck.
Yeah,
to
she's
the
stuck to
stroller.
them and they're screaming. But
Well, we have a few minutes to wrap this up. What are your best tips for the avid runners, the student athletes, the marathon runners out there? What advice could you give them to, increase their time, make them a better runner?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we already talked consistency over time. That's huge. But start out easy. Yeah. Like if you go on day one and you just overdo it, like you go for 30 minutes and you've only ever run 30 at the most ever, right? And it's day one back. Like you're probably not going to go to day two, or start off every other day that first week. Go easy. Start into it very manageable. That way you want to keep doing it. It's different at the high school level because we have a time period and we're rushed and we got to work, we got to push, we got to
Right.
push. But man, when you're not at the high school level, take your time. And the
Take
other
your time.
important thing, in my opinion, have a coach. Have someone that actually either pushes you, motivates you, or holds you back. Okay? Because, right, very often do we as individuals do exactly what we need to do. That's where a coach comes in handy. We're either going to do too much or too little. And so that coach can be the person who regulates that and really helps.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much
Yep.
for being here. Everybody, Rob Myers, ex-professional runner. We could not be happier to have you, and just thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, it's my pleasure. We can talk all day like this.
I know we could. You and I really
Yeah.
could. Well, we hope you were able to gain some clarity and inspiration, whether you are that marathon runner, a parent of a track or cross-country athlete. Hopefully you took some nuggets away from this. And until next time, I'm Dee. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon.